The night it all started, I thought it was a joke. A prank. Something I'd laugh about later. But standing there under the glaring lights, the lace brushing my shoulders, the scent of roses thick in the air, I wasn't laughing. I was shaking. I never expected a single night could change everything I thought I knew about myself. It began with a mistake, or maybe, fate playing games. I was working backstage at a small wedding hall that night, helping a friend with last-minute logistics. The bride had gone missing, panic everywhere, guests waiting, cameras ready. Someone has to stall, the coordinator said. Just for a few minutes. My friend, half joking, pointed at me. He's about the same size. Throw the spare gown on him. The room erupted in nervous laughter. I froze. Wait, what? Before I could protest, hands pulled me toward the dressing room. I was half arguing, half laughing, until the gown brushed my skin. The cool fabric, the faint perfume, it silenced me. The coordinator muttered, "We just need a silhouette for the photos, okay? The real bride's on her way." I stared into the mirror as they adjusted the veil. I didn't recognize the reflection. For the first time in my life, I didn't see the guy who blends into the background. I saw someone softer, someone delicate, someone who could exist outside the limits I'd always drawn. The laughter around me faded. My heartbeat filled the room. And when they pushed me toward the stage lights, the cameras flashing, I felt it. The world slowed down. And in that heartbeat, everything changed. The bride eventually showed up, crisis averted, chaos restored. My moment as a fake stand-in was forgotten within minutes. But I couldn't forget. That image in the mirror haunted me. The way my reflection smiled shyly beneath the veil, how oddly right it had felt. The next morning, I tried to shake it off. Coffee, classes, conversations. But my mind kept drifting back to that moment when I wasn't me, but somehow more me than ever before. At lunch, my best friend Maya noticed. "You're quiet," she said. Still traumatized by the whole gown thing. I laughed it off. Yeah, totally ridiculous. But she squinted. "You don't sound like you mean that." I shrugged. "It's nothing." Except it wasn't. Every ordinary part of my life suddenly felt heavy. The clothes I wore, the way I walked, even how people addressed me. It all felt like a costume I hadn't chosen. I tried to bury it, but curiosity kept creeping in. That night, when I passed a boutique window glowing with mannequins in wedding gowns, I stopped. Just for a moment. The reflection in the glass caught me, the faint outline of my face next to a dress shimmering under the lights. My stomach fluttered with something between guilt and wonder. That was the night I stopped pretending I didn't want to understand why. It began innocently enough, or so I told myself. I started researching fabric styles, the history of wedding attire, purely academic, of course. Then, makeup tutorials. Vocal posture guides. I told myself it was curiosity, not craving. But one evening, when Maya dropped by with a garment bag and a grin, I realized I wasn't fooling anyone. She tossed the bag onto my couch. "Found this at a thrift shop. Figured you'd want to see if it fits." My face burned. "What are you talking about?" Her eyes softened. "You've been different since that wedding gig." "It's okay. You don't have to explain. Just try it." When she left, I stood staring at the bag for an hour. Finally, I unzipped it. Inside was a simple off-white dress, not a wedding gown, just soft fabric and clean lines. My hands trembled as I touched it. I tried it on. The moment the zipper closed, the world fell silent again. The weight, the texture, the faint swish as I moved, it all felt impossible and right. I turned toward the mirror, half afraid. The person staring back was shy but radiant, unsure but alive. I whispered, "Who are you?" And somewhere deep inside, a voice answered, "Maybe me." That became my secret ritual. At night, when the city slept, I'd close the curtains, light a candle, and let that hidden version of myself breathe. It wasn't about pretending to be someone else, it was about finally being. Each night, a little more makeup, a little more confidence. The mirror stopped feeling like a stranger. But the closer I got to understanding that reflection, the more terrified I became of losing it. Maya eventually convinced me to step outside, just once. "There's a costume ball downtown," she said. "Masks, lights, no judgment. Come as whoever you want. One night only." The words echoed. One night only. That was safe. Temporary. A perfect illusion. So I agreed. When I arrived, the city shimmered in gold and violet. Music pulsed through the streets. People wore every kind of costume imaginable. Fantasy, glam, elegance. I wore the dress. Not the wedding gown, but something similar, white lace at the shoulders, silver at the waist. My hair styled gently, my lips brushed with color. Maya met me at the entrance, grinning wide. You look incredible. I blushed. Don't exaggerate. Then we stepped inside. At first, every laugh, every flicker of light felt like exposure. I walked carefully, avoiding eye contact. But as the night went on, something shifted. People smiled, nodded, danced around me like I belonged. I started to breathe again. Someone offered a hand, twirling me into the crowd. The motion was dizzying, spinning, laughing, the hem of my dress fluttering like wings. For the first time, I wasn't thinking about how I looked. I was just feeling. Free, weightless, real. Maya watched from the side, smiling. Later she said, "You know, I've never seen you this happy." And she was right. That night, under neon light and music, I wasn't pretending. I didn't need to explain. Didn't need permission. I was just me. But when the night ended, and I stood at the mirror wiping away the last trace of lipstick, I whispered again, "Just one night." Yet deep down, I knew it wouldn't be. Secrets have a way of finding light. A week later, I got a message from the wedding coordinator. "We're finalizing the photo album from that night. One of the shots went viral. Congrats on your modeling debut." My heart stopped. I clicked the link. There it was, me, in the gown, eyes wide behind the veil, caught in a perfect candid moment. Thousands of comments. Compliments. Shares. Who's the mysterious stand-in bride? She looks ethereal. Her expression, so real. I felt sick. They didn't know the truth. I wasn't supposed to be that person. When I showed Maya, she stared in silence. "You know, you could tell people it's you." I shook my head violently. "No. They'll never understand. It was just one night." But the lie felt heavier every time I said it. That weekend, someone at campus stopped me. "Hey, you look like that viral bride photo." I laughed nervously, brushing it off, but inside, something snapped. Why was I running from the only version of myself that ever felt genuine? That night, I stood again before the mirror, staring hard at the reflection. "I can't keep hiding you," I whispered. For a long time, I didn't move. Then, I reached for my phone and typed a message to Maya. "I think I'm ready." Maya helped me organize a small photography session, a proper one this time. No disguises, no jokes. Just honesty. When I stepped in front of the camera wearing that same simple gown, my hands shook. But Maya's voice was calm behind the lens. "Look up," she said. "Be who you are." And I did. Each flash felt like shedding an old layer. Fear, doubt, shame, they all melted away under the lights. By the end, I wasn't posing anymore. I was standing tall. We posted one photo online. No filters, no anonymity. Just me. The caption read, "This was never a mistake. It was a beginning." The responses surprised me. Some people didn't get it. Some whispered behind screens. But others wrote things that made me cry. "Thank you for being brave." I felt the same way. You helped me see myself differently. That's when I realized the truth. That night wasn't an accident. It was a door. And I'd finally stepped through it. It started as one night, a fluke, a joke, a disguise. But sometimes, the moments we least expect reveal the truest version of who we are. That one night only didn't end at midnight. It became a forever kind of courage. I'm not the bride in that photo anymore. I'm the person who learned to love the reflection that once scared them. And if I've learned anything, it's this: the scariest step is always the first one into your own light. After that, everything else is just living. Got it, Dizzy? You want part 2 of One Night Only, Now I'm Her Bride Forever. Since part 1 ended with the protagonist embracing her true identity publicly, part 2 will explore what happens after. Living openly for the first time. Facing the world's reaction, both support and rejection. Discovering love, belonging, and deeper self-acceptance. The title theme continues. A night that was supposed to be temporary becomes a lifetime of truth. Here's your part 2, around 3,000 words. Same immersive, emotional, cinematic storytelling style in first person. I thought the hardest part was revealing who I was. But the truth? The hardest part was living as her after the reveal. Because when the world sees you differently, it doesn't just change your reflection, it changes everything around it. The day after I posted that photo, my phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Hundreds of messages. Some from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Some kind, some cruel, and some that simply said, "I always knew." I sat at my desk staring at the flood of notifications, feeling both free and exposed. Maya called me before I could even breathe. "You're trending again," she said. "The comments are mixed." I laughed nervously. "Mixed how?" She hesitated. "Mostly supportive. But you know the internet, some people can't handle honesty." I nodded. I knew this was coming. I just didn't expect it to hurt this much. "Then don't read them," she said softly. "Just live. You did something brave." But bravery didn't feel like armor. It felt like standing naked in the storm. That afternoon, I stepped outside for the first time. No disguise, no mask, just me. The wind felt different on my face, like it was touching someone new. Some people looked twice, some smiled, some whispered. Every step was a mix of fear and pride. The hardest part wasn't strangers, it was the people who thought they knew me. At work, whispers followed me like shadows. Someone said, "Is that the same guy from accounting?" Another murmured, "No, that's her now." I pretended not to hear. I just kept walking, head high, pretending the tremor in my chest wasn't fear. Later that day, my manager called me in. He cleared his throat awkwardly. "I saw the post. You, look different." I braced myself for the worst. But then he said, "As long as your work's solid, I don't care what name you use." He smiled awkwardly. "Just let HR know if you need any forms updated." It was small, imperfect, but it meant everything. That night, I sat with Maya in her apartment, wrapped in a blanket, eating noodles straight from the pot. She grinned. "So, first day as the real you. How'd it go?" I exhaled. Terrifying. But also, peaceful. Like I finally stopped holding my breath. She nodded. "That's how it starts. Not easy, but worth it." For the first time, I believed her. Weeks passed. And slowly, the world started to adjust. Or maybe I did. The barista at my usual cafe started calling me by my chosen name. My coworkers stopped whispering. My reflection in the mirror stopped feeling like a costume. Every day, I saw small pieces of her, of me, coming together. The way I smiled without hiding it. The way my voice softened, but carried more strength. The way I could finally meet my own eyes without flinching. But self-acceptance doesn't erase loneliness. There were still nights when I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if anyone would ever see me, not as that viral bride, not as the transformation, but as a person. Someone who just wanted to be loved. And that's when I met Evelyn. It happened by accident, like everything else in my life lately. I was volunteering at a local photography exhibit, helping organize portraits of people celebrating identity and transformation. The theme was becoming. While I was setting up lights, a woman walked in wearing a simple red coat. She smiled. "You're the one from that photo, aren't you?" I froze. "Depends which one." "The bride," she said gently. "You looked free." Her tone wasn't mocking or curious, it was understanding. That caught me off guard. We ended up talking for hours as the exhibit took shape. She told me she was a writer documenting stories of self-discovery. I told her mine, hesitant at first, then freely. At one point she said, "You didn't just change your reflection. You changed your narrative." Something about the way she said it made my heart twist. We exchanged numbers before she left. That night, I read her text. For what it's worth, that photo didn't show a bride pretending. It showed someone being reborn. I didn't know it then, but she would become the person who taught me how to live beyond the transformation. We met again, and again. Coffee dates turned into long walks. Conversations turned into laughter that made my chest ache in the best way. Evelyn never treated me like a spectacle. She didn't ask about the before and after. She asked about my now. She'd say, "Tell me what you dream about these days." And I'd realize, I was finally dreaming again. I told her about the feeling of walking in that gown, how it started everything. She smiled. You still have it? I nodded. Hidden away. Like a chapter I'm scared to reread. She took my hand. Then maybe it's time to stop hiding chapters. You can't write the next one if you keep the last one locked. Her words lingered. That weekend, I pulled the gown from its box for the first time in months. It smelled faintly of dust and old perfume, but when I ran my hand over the lace, it was like touching destiny again. I realized then that the gown wasn't a costume. It was a promise. But not everyone saw it that way. My parents found out about my public life through distant relatives. The call came late one night. My mother's voice trembled. Is it true? What they are saying online? I swallowed hard. Yes, Mom. It's true. That's me. Silence. Then a sharp inhale. I don't understand. Why would you do this to yourself? Her words hit harder than I expected. I didn't do anything, I said quietly. I just stopped pretending. My father's voice joined hers on speaker. This is embarrassing. What will people think? And that's when something inside me shifted. For years, I had lived for what people would think. But not anymore. Maybe they'll think I finally learned to be happy, I said. And maybe you should, too. There was another long silence before my mother whispered, I just don't know how to understand this. I felt tears sting my eyes. Then start by trying. That's all I ask. When I hung up, I cried harder than I had in years. But beneath the tears, I felt something new, strength. Because this time, I hadn't apologized for existing. Months passed. My parents didn't call again immediately, but they didn't disappear either. Small steps, a text on my birthday, a forwarded recipe from my mother. Little bridges, one at a time. Meanwhile, Evelyn and I grew closer. She told me she was writing a story about transformation, fictional, but inspired by truth. I became her muse, her confidant, her co-creator. One day, she surprised me. I booked us a photo session, she said. A real one. I want to capture you, your journey, your truth. Not the viral photo. The real you. I froze. I don't know if I can go through that again. She smiled softly. You already have. This time, you're doing it for yourself. When I stood in front of that camera again, wearing the gown that had started it all, I wasn't trembling anymore. The lights flashed. But this time, I didn't see a disguise or a performance. I saw a woman who had fought, healed, and found her place. Evelyn stepped beside me for one last shot, her hand slipping into mine. The photographer smiled. Beautiful. You two look perfect together. And for once, I believed it. A year later, on a quiet spring afternoon, I stood before a small group of friends in a garden filled with soft music and sunlight. The gown had been altered, simpler now, but still familiar. The same lace that once represented fear now symbolized freedom. Maya stood by my side, grinning wide. Evelyn stood across from me, her eyes glistening. When she whispered, "You ready, my bride?" I laughed through tears. Always. The officiant smiled. One night brought you together. May forever keep you that way. And as we said our vows, I realized something beautiful. It was never about pretending to be a bride. It was about becoming the woman I was always meant to be. The world may remember me for that single viral moment, but I'll remember it as the night I finally stepped into forever. I used to think transformation was about changing how you look. Now I know, it's about changing what you believe about yourself. That night was supposed to be temporary. A joke. A stand-in. But it became the spark that rewrote my destiny. I'm no longer the one-night bride. I'm the woman who found love, truth, and freedom, all because I dared to see myself under that veil. And if anyone asks how it all began, I just smile and say, one night only, and forever after.